NutriCast.
And I had a mouse that ran at my leg and it freaked me out. And I never wanted that to happen again, but I didn't want to kill the mouse. So I invented a way to create peace between people and pests and turned it into a business.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Imagine turning a terrifying encounter with a mouse into a multi-million-dollar business. That's exactly what Kari Warberg Block did, and today she's sharing her incredible journey with us. From her humble beginnings as a farm wife to founding EarthKind, Kari has revolutionized pest control with eco-friendly solutions that are now in 35,000 stores nationwide. In this episode, Kari opens up about her near-death experience that reshaped her life's mission, the challenges of creating natural pest deterrents, and her transition from CEO to executive chair. Plus, she reveals the secrets behind her company's success and offers invaluable advice for entrepreneurs. Hey, Kari, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How is it going today?
Fantastic. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you for multiple reasons. I think one that speaks to me the most is building a business that has the environment, animals, those types of things at the forefront. It's kind of near pests. It's as silly as that sounds to some people probably. It speaks to me. I have a dear love for animals and living creatures and stuff. So I think when I had the opportunity to be able to talk with you, I'm super excited. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself like I always do, but this will make sense soon to the audience. So where I'd love to start is let's talk about what you do professionally. Can you tell me a little bit about your business, a little bit about what you do, and then we'll just kind of drill down from that.
Sure, absolutely. I'm the founder and executive chair at EarthKind. And this company, I brought it to market and brought it out to where it is today in 35,000 retail stores nationwide and over 350 million in revenues that have come in, all from one of these accidental things that happened. I had a mouse that ran at my leg and it freaked me out. And I never wanted that to happen again, but I didn't want to kill the mouse. And I didn't want to poison it. Didn't want anything bad around my kids and dogs. So I invented a way to create peace between people and pests and turned it into a business.
Yeah, that's awesome. On the note of the mouse, I'm just going to take a little tangent here. About 3 years ago, we had one mouse floating around our house that we couldn't get. And I'm sitting one day, I think I'm watching a football game, stuffing my face with potato chips. And I'm sitting there with my dogs. They're sitting on the couch with me. All of a sudden, the TV, we've got a big TV, it's a thin TV, it starts rattling. And this mouse crawls down behind the TV onto the floor. And it's embarrassing because I've got it on video because we have a camera in our front room. And I'm like screaming. My dogs are flying all around the place. And the mouse shoots out of the house. And that was the end of the mouse. We taped everything and we never saw it again. So I can really relate when you said you had a mouse in your house. That brings back flashbacks kind of.
Well, they are the most adaptable species out there, and they're the hardest to control household pests, and you are not alone.
Yeah. It's, honestly, we went the next day to Home Depot, bought all this stuff, was going to exterminate them, and I couldn't put it out. I decided, you know what, why don't we just patch all the holes, and why don't we, and I didn't know of EarthKind at the time, and I said, why don't we just patch all the holes all around the house? They can't get in. And my wife and I, we spent like half day literally like taping, putting up wood or wherever we thought there was even the slightest bit, molding, sealant, wherever we could, just so they couldn't get in. And it actually has worked. We've never had another one since, but I wish I knew about your product. So I'm sorry, I'm getting deep into something else. But how about something personally? I mean, obviously, you're motivated by this whole eco-friendly type thing. What is something about personally that makes you tick?
Well, I also love animals. I am a dog trainer, agility dog trainer. I got a show dog when I was a little kid, never actually got to go to the show ring and train the dog. But now, all these years later, I got this shelter pup and he was just timid and you name it. And I started training him and he turned into this amazing show dog, and he had been returned 4 times to the shelter. Wow. And it was just such a leadership moment for me because I saw this little dog that was scared of his own shadow, but once somebody believed in him and taught him some things, and he got a taste of it, and he's just he's quite the little show dog now.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
And he got a taste of it, and he's just he's quite the little show dog now.
Oh, that is such a cool story. I did the whole shelter volunteer thing. In fact, my three are all from shelters. And I'll tell you, it's the hardest thing for that exact reason. A lot of these dogs, just haven't been put in an environment to succeed. And they shake in their bones, and you work with them for like 2 or 3 weeks, and they're like completely different dogs. They're just, when they get some love and encouragement and feel like maybe they're not going to be hit or kicked or whatever, it's amazing. So that's cool. That's a cool story.
And it's a great reminder to always be that excited when you see your own family, right? Your own kids, your own husband. And if I could be half the person that my dog thinks I am, I think I'll be successful in life.
I never thought of it that way, but it's true. They definitely put us on a pedestal. Hey, so let's start with your journey. So at one point you were a farm wife, had somewhat of limited resources. I'd love to know, when did it click where, hey, I've got something here? At what point in this journey did that start out?
Well, it clicked once I was at a trade show because I had developed this solution and we needed it ourselves. No other company had anything. I called, they humiliated me. Everybody thought it was the stupidest thing in the world that I wanted something humane. So long story short, I invented something and I took it to a trade show and it got on the news, and we had a line like 2 blocks long in North Dakota in the wintertime. So it's like freezing, and people were waiting to get our product before it sold out because mice are such a problem on farms. And then the word got out that this product could save marriages. Because how stressful it can be, and plans go sideways. It's expensive. It's just horrific. And being a farm wife, we had to take care of our equipment, and mice, if they chewed up on wiring harnesses, it's thousands of dollars. Your combine can blow up, start a fire in the field. You might not get your crop off the ground. It was a real devastating thing for farmers. So that's the time. That's when I knew that. I'm like, wow. I told the kids, we're going to be rich. And we were living on like $18,000 a year back then.
Wow.
But the last person in line, they strategically waited, I think, to see how many I sold. They came and they said, we're from the Department of Agriculture. I'm like, what? And it turns out they're the pesticide police, and it's illegal to do what I was doing without a license from the federal EPA.
Wow. And so what did that kill your idea right there, or did that put more?
It could have, if it wasn't for this just deep inner resolve and tenacity and knowing, okay, I have this calling on my life, right, to do something here. And I certainly wasn't given a roadmap how to do it.
Right.
No entrepreneur is really, especially if you're doing innovative, game-changing things. It's total about resourcefulness and resilience and getting creative and tenacity and all that. But I just kept trying. They discouraged me, saying, this really hasn't been done. It's going to cost at least $2 million. Wow. You really don't know what you're doing. And most these big companies do this. And I'm like, well, small companies should do this. The world needs a solution made by a farm wife for farm use. And it turns out everybody that I went to for help had the problem themselves, and they'd heard about it or they'd used this solution. So they were able to kind of work with me and point me to some grant sources. And had to get courageous and learn how to do the engineering and learn how to do all the aspects to bring the product to market.
So was that actually an accurate figure? Did it take $2 million to ultimately get licensing or whatever regulatory channels you had to go
we
through?
did it.
Okay.
Yeah. All in all, it was about 200,000, which is just a fraction.
Right. But still big money.
It was big
yeah.
money. It was really big money. I sold produce. I started other businesses actually to pay for it.
Wow.
Things we could do on the farm. Yeah, I sold my camper. I sold my pack horse. I sold everything that, really that I had of value.
I'm always fascinated. So, every week I interview business owners and entrepreneurs, and the word that almost every time comes up is resiliency. It's just sticking through it, believing in what you see as the future can be. When do you think, like, the one that always hits me though is, when do you know, or how do you know if you're going down the wrong path? Because you're investing $200,000. That's a big deal. That's not small money. A lot less than $2 million, which was obviously they probably tried to just scare you away. But how did you know? Like, was it just because you had that initial, all those people in line wanting it? It's like that was your conviction, or was there something else, or was it just the vision? You just had this vision of what it could be.
The vision really was around the pain point. And I thought, this is a problem that if this is the last thing I do on earth, this is worth something. And I just refused to give up. I just kept my focus so tight on it and just kept praying about it because, we're creator beings made in the image of God. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to somehow figure this out. And, a lot of prayers and other people, and finally got it figured out. And nature really is what gave the solution that works.
Yeah. So I know around 1995, you had a near-death experience. I don't know if my timeline's right here. Could we talk about that a little bit and how that played a role in EarthKind becoming what it is?
Yeah, it was one of those things you don't expect to happen on a warm July morning. I was selling produce at a farmer's market, which I had started. We grew about a 2-acre garden, organic, for a family, and I sold some at the farmer's markets for cash flow that we needed. And 72-year-old lady on a touring bike came in with a sidecar, and she didn't want to park in the parking lot. She decided, well, I'll just pull right up to the stand. Well, she somehow got her wires crossed, and instead of the brake, she accelerated right in front of me. And a table was in front of me and another table behind me, and it broke my femur. And ended up in the emergency room and signed my leg away. So they said, we'll probably, might have to take your leg to preserve your life. Anyway, got into the operating room, and my femoral artery burst, and it just was spraying all over, and they just kept putting more and more blood in me. The surgeon said he saw an angel over the bed, a huge angel, which freaked him out because he was an atheist. And he didn't really want to tell me about this whole sordid thing because he asked me, he goes, "Did you see anything?" I'm like, no, I still thought I didn't have my leg at this point because I had just barely woken up. And he told me, the first thing he said is, "I don't want to hear any bitching out of you. You're lucky to be alive." And so I thought, okay, I lost my leg. I had no idea what was going on, and wondering if I saw anything. I didn't see anything. I didn't get any of those mystical things, but he sure did. He left medicine, and over the next year, I laid on my back, and I thought, why am I really here? There must be a real definite reason for it. And I wrote a book called Gathering Around the Table for Purpose-Driven Change Through Business, and it kind of goes into it. And I just kept hearing this voice: lift your spirit to a higher place, open your heart to a kinder earth, and destiny will knock. I was just like, what the heck is that? Just like, I'm so practical, it just didn't make any sense to me. And then finally it just hit me. Rodent, because I had been working on this problem and this solution. I'm like, that's a worthy endeavor. If I die next time, I can feel really good about doing something about this. So I said, okay, okay, God, universe, I will do this, but I want your help because I don't have any background. I don't have an education, experience, money. I don't have anything in this. And I think he said, yeah, go for it. It's a noble cause. And I had a little help because my father was an entomologist. So he died before I got this out on the market. And he never actually got to see all of it. But it's ironic because his specialty was rodents.
Wow.
And he was a leader. He spoke German and came out of college and made his living by selling the toxic rodenticides. I used to argue with him as a kid, going, "Why do you always have to kill everything? You love insects, you love all that stuff." And he's like, "That's the only thing. There's no other way to do it."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Well, he's dead, but I'm alive. Maybe." I felt, in a way, it felt like he just passed the torch to me and says, "Okay, enough bitching and complaining out of you about, me selling all these poisons, and you go out and do this." So that's kind of the serendipitous side of how it all happened.
What a cool story. And yeah, I'm sure he's looking down, or wherever he's looking, I'm sure he's proud of you. And he's like, okay, she showed me up. She won for you. And it's not just rodents, your product line. It's pests it's spiders, it's ants. I think it's flies. I can't remember, but it's a pretty wide range of different little critters, right?
Yes. Cockroaches, ants, spiders, mosquitoes. Our products are all top rated. They come in like a little sachet for people that are watching, those that just have audio. It's kind of a fist size little pouch. And all you do is you place this wherever you want to keep the pests out, and they leave and stay away.
Right.
That simple. Smells good too.
I have a question for you, because I'm sure consumers think the same thing. The first thing you think is, does it really work? Because it's scent based. The scent is what's making them move away. I mean, I guess there's so many things go through my head when I was researching this. It's like, one, like, how do you know what scents, freak out an ant versus spider versus a rodent? That would be one. And then, does it really work? Like, how? I mean, it almost seems too simple in some ways.
Yeah. And that is just exactly what we were facing. Our villain was never poisons. Our villain was, does natural work? So we really had to be careful in how we started and, scaled this company. And we always knew it would be one on customer reviews. Yeah. So we were one of the first pioneers out there collecting and gathering reviews, because we're like, okay, we have to show it. You can't just tell people because they already have this idea that it's not going to work because they've already been trained. You just have to kill it. So we had a behavior issue to deal with, as well as, showing the efficacy of a product. So there's a lot of science behind it. I've worked with entomologists. We do a lot of trials. It's a lot of trial and error. Part of the blessing that I have is I'm intuitive when it comes to nature and insects. And I've spent, my life watching them, learning about them. And so it's really taking an ecosystem approach to their habitats, and then finding what thing can't they tolerate, because we can't just kill them, lure them in and kill them. And then, which is what was done before. So it was like, okay, well then deter them is going to have to be the solution. So for each pest is different. With rodents, the balsam fir tree makes its own pesticide to keep rodents from crawling up and eating monarch butterflies.
Interesting.
I discovered that and got a patent on that. And I discovered that because I was walking out in the tree rows, and there's like 40 inches of snow and nothing. There wasn't anything for the rodents to eat or the deer. So they're chewing on the bark. And this one tree still had bark on it. I'm like, why is that? Well, curious mind, like maybe that's a solution right there. So I tested it, and it was.
Wow.
With spiders, it took years of research to figure out what to do there, and ended up being like, what is going to prohibit them from making webs and staying to catch their food? And it was like, what is going to make them really irate? So I spent way too many hours looking at bugs that freaked me out, watching their hunting, how they do it. And they're like Navy SEAL teams. I'm telling you, the spiders are just so amazing.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's our number 2 seller. And it's just spider webs are such a problem in homes, but they don't need to build them if there's not a place and an environment that makes sense for them to build them, and little bugs are going to be there to eat. So they leave and go somewhere else.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
We're so done with New Year, New You. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
A place and an environment that makes sense for them to build them, and little bugs are going to be there to eat. So they leave and go somewhere else.
So you kind of answered one of my questions a few minutes ago. So I'm going to take a little bit different of an angle. My question to you was going to be, well, what's your moat to your business? Because copying this would not be that, I would think, especially with a larger company, would not be that hard. So I heard you say patent. So, and I don't want to get too technical here. Does the patent preclude another company from creating any type of scent-based product that would, solve this? Or is it just that particular scent?
So I took an interesting twist to this because we do have patents on designs and utility patents, but I did an open innovation on a pouch because I wanted more. I knew that this would be game changing. And now today there's probably 17 competitors out there that are using something that, I first developed.
Okay.
Because the goal always was for me to take the market from 98% toxic and poison down and flip that. So say, well, wouldn't it be cool if one day it's only 2% toxic and poison? And I knew that would take more companies than just us. So we did that. But the other things that help us is we're sustainable. So everything that goes into our products is grown on farms. We were the first company to take that. Nobody else is really doing it like that. Instead of chemicals, we're using farm-grown ingredients. And then our products are most effective. So they have to be top rated or we're not going to keep them in our line. So that requires a lot of efficacy, which that's really the two things on the moat is it's natural and it's effective. So it's naturally effective and it's humane.
Got it.
That's another one.
What do you do when you have, because I'm sure you have some that may not be as effective as you would have hoped them to be. So it sounds like if they're not, you pull them off the market. Do you go back to the drawing board and keep working on those formulas and try to reintroduce it? Or do you just go, hey, we're not going to cover that segment for whatever the pest may be?
Yeah, well, fortunately, we've got, everything that we have in our lines right now are number one.
Yeah, your reviews are really good, by the way, on Amazon. Really good.
Yeah. And so we watch them really close. And oftentimes somebody's not using it properly. So we get on there and we'll help them and give replacements and refunds and make sure our customers are happy. But we do have more products in development, things that we're looking at. But we look for a new delivery system, right? It's got to be humane and it's got to be really effective and made from some type of a farm-grown byproduct.
Okay, so I hear liquids in the future potentially.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Let's talk about one topic I want to spend some time talking about, because when you get to a certain level as a business, you've been doing everything. You're the head of the company, and you start to go, hey, I want to get to the next stage, and that might include a different leadership. It might mean me appointing a CEO and taking a different role. And that's where you're going through now. Can we talk a little bit about what got you there? Like, why did you go in this direction? And then what was your criteria for making this decision?
Sure. Well, my goal was to do the founder job. It's like being a farmer, which I was for many years. It's like breaking new ground. It's really hard work. It's just, as I always think of it, as plowing. So I went really wide. We got 35,000 stores. We had no internal resources. So I built our entire company through marketing to get people into the stores to build the demand for our products. And once we reached that level, we came up with a 3-year plan to, I called it, turn us from, entrepreneurial run company into a professionally run company. And so we made that. This year was our year for that. I pretty much stayed out of everything all year. The team fully came up with the plan, and we're having our best year we've ever had. And
Wow.
We're a top place to work. We're doing great. We're debt free. We've got really good cash flows. And it was like, okay, I have officially graduated. So brought in a new CEO and somebody with world-class experience on the sales side that uses the same methodologies. In fact, I've worked with him on these methodologies for many years. We call it core story selling. And it originated from Chet Holmes, if you've ever heard of him, worked for, Charlie Munger. And Chet taught me just great skills to sell, to build demand, to get me on PR, to get anybody on the phone that I wanted. So I invested early to learn those skills. And then now it's like, okay, I'm going to be working as a chair now, making sure that I'm working on the 3 years and 5 years out stuff, which is really fun. And all the relationships that I've built over the last 18 years with, companies all over the world and in governments too, because I've worked on policy.
Wow. So it sounds like the person that's stepping into the CEO role, somewhat of a known commodity. It sounded like you worked with them for several years. So it wasn't, the trust factor is probably already there. Is there any part of you that was like, am I really ready for this? Am I ready to let go a little bit? It sounds like your team was, it went a whole year with you letting go. So I don't know, maybe there isn't really a big transition here for you.
Well, no, because I'd already started this and I knew I was careful thinking about the transition. And, I've been fortunate to be part of Vistage community.
Okay.
And I knew, I was in that for 6 years, 7 years. I know EO well because we had used those in the early years. So we had a lot of those disciplines down. But coming through, part of it was it takes a lot of energy to do this job, being a CEO. Sure. And I had always had this vision when I get 60, that's like my last 30. I am going to do big things in those last 30 years because I'll have all this wisdom, I'll have finances, right? Make it the best time of my life. So we both hit that 60 and we're like, okay, let's make sure we plan this. And looking at other CEOs or talking with a lot of CEOs that had sold their companies when they got to that, 95% of the time they regret it. And they didn't like what happened to them and their marriage. And they didn't like how their employees were treated. They didn't like any of it. And so we just made that decision. Let's bring in a CEO. Let's continue on this path and make sure that we make the right decisions for our people and for our customers and for ourselves before we get just too tired and, all over it.
Very cool. You said your last 30 or the next 30, I should say the last 30, the next 30, you have big plans. Is that more on a personal level or do you have some things on a professional level that you still want to accomplish? Anything you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. The near-death experience started this whole first path of going out and, controlling pests in a more humane way. Well, this last year, part of my year off, I went to Israel for a month and little over a month and stayed there and helped the farmers in the South. And so I really had some time and I had some experiences happen, in that. And I realized this journey of peace, peace between people and pests, and it's something I'm really good at. So I'm going to be expanding more in that area. I'm out on podcasts and out doing some more speaking. I love to write. Advising, of course, my company is really fun, and I'm, adore the CEO and have 100% trust in him. So seeing where we can take this company is going to be really fun. So I'll dabble around in the human experience area, put it that way, because that's my favorite part of it. Having happy people and seeing what they can do is like really amazing, whether it's our customers or our employees, our partners.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to talk about, and you kind of tipped your hand a little bit in terms of Vistage. Were there any tools or organizations during your period of growth where you've got to today? So like EOS, obviously Vistage was one. Were there any mentors? Vistage is great for mentors. What kind of take us through that and what they played a role, or what tools you use? Scaling Up is another one in terms of what you use that were hopefully foundational to your business.
Yeah. So I've always been a huge advocate of coaching. And I always thought, why do we as leaders spend more on our cars than we do on our own leadership? Because you can't grow a company, unless you have a vision and you know how to communicate that and you know how to architect the steps that happen in between. And there's a lot of things that can happen in between there. So I've looked at more like, where are we going? And then it's always, what are the capabilities needed? So the first question is, where do you want to go? The second question is, what are the capabilities? Right. And then the third question for me is what community do I need to be involved in for here? So I haven't been scared to change communities. I just haven't. And like, that's the important thing to do, I think, is because the people that you're around and advise you, right, help inform what's happening. And you need to bring different things at different times for the company.
For sure. Did you ever use anything like a EOS system in your own company?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We used the EOS system in the early years for sure. I love the Rockefeller habits.
Yeah.
That is just like, my team is just like, oh my God, this is so overkill, Kari. I'm like, no, it's our checklist. Every year we got to go down and do our week, communicating properly. It's just, you just really can't beat that list. And my personality is more of I'm like on the bottom of the disc wheel. I'm on the support and on the conscientious side of systems and processes, and making sure that people feel comfortable where they are, making sure we resolve conflicts, that type of thing. So it served me really well as a founder and in this area as a servant leader. Another tool is DISC. I've loved that.
Yeah, DISC profile. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a Love Your Work program. And so I've gotten my team certified in that. And we do the assessments. We help people actually, discover their purpose and what they want and how they can contribute. And really, it creates so much that the employees say that they feel like leaders, because they can go home with these new tools for communicating, and they feel like leaders in their family, and they're looked to as that because of what we've given them at work.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
They feel like leaders in their family, and they're looked to as that because of what we've given them at work.
Yeah. I love how, sometimes you'll see companies and they'll talk about having purpose and mission and stuff, and that's about it. And then when I went to your website, you have, I went to Glassdoor. You actually have a link to Glassdoor, which speaks somewhat volumes in terms of, because Glassdoor is an easy place for people to kind of take pop shots at a company. Your Glassdoors are really good. They're strong. You have all these credibility and trust type insignias throughout the website. Your Amazon reviews are really solid. So it's kind of like my impression, the first time getting exposed to you as I'm doing my research, is wow, they're breathing and living what they're talking about. And I'm sure that's the impression you want to give people that are coming to your site and checking you out and considering your product. But that's cool because it makes it more meaningful. Sometimes you don't get that deep substance when I'm researching companies, frankly.
Yeah, well, transparency is part of it because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I always think that's a CEO's biggest job, right? Is to stay on top of those things because it's like there's always somebody coming around the corner that could be disrupt you, right? There's so many unexpected things that can happen. So if you can have a resilience built into your teams where they're not scared to look at the truth, that's the only way you know, right? And you can get better is if you have, peaceful relationships with your customers and your vendors and your employees.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, hey, before I wrap up here, I'd love to, if you could share with us, because you have a very successful journey now, and you're entering a new chapter, which is, I'm sure, is going to be equally successful. There's a lot of entrepreneurs listening to us right now, and we often have struggles. We hit walls, whatever. Do you have any, maybe if you give me three little snippets or tips of what we can do to be successful from your own experiences as entrepreneurs? Anything that could come to mind? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, one, this is so powerful professionally and personally. Take deep breaths at least 3 times a day and at least 5 breaths. And preferably do this while your feet are grounded in nature.
Okay.
And it is amazing how that resets your brain to go out of the fight or flight and get creative. Because when you look at a problem, it isn't a problem, it's an opportunity. But if you don't frame it right, because it's just how we're wired, but that deep breathing makes such a huge difference. Another one is to set a limit on your worry time. And I set a limit on mine of 20 minutes a day. And so I'd set a timer 20 minutes in the morning and I could worry my heart out. But after that, I had to take action. I couldn't worry about it because I find there's a lot of anxieties can build on top of the other. And then you don't even know what they are until you have to roll them back.
Right.
The other thing that I think is really important is to find out what your 2-word purpose is. And there's one guy out there, and I met him at a conference, and I just recommend him to everyone. He's written a book called The On-Purpose Person, Kevin McCarthy. Okay. And for $25, you can take his little assessment, and it'll come out with 2 words. And everybody that I referred him to, and including me, and I've seen friends. I had one friend in a WPO meeting. She's taken 3 companies public since.
Wow. And
it just, when she hit on it and she realized she was here as a light bringer, it was just like the heavens opened up and her path was just wide. And it's really powerful.
I'll have to check that out. I've done the the Clifton Strength Finder several times as a way of kind of getting to know myself and being aware of what some of it I think is more accurate than others, but with the strengths I got out of it was like, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of true. And it kind of helps you, if you believe in that superpower stuff, it helps you maybe realize what you're really good at and what might be your superpower. So I'm really intrigued to try the 2-word one.
Yeah. Having that feedback from other people or tools like that is so, so helpful.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Hey, this was an awesome chat. Your website, earthkind.com. If people wanted to reach out to you, is that the spot to go, or is there another spot like LinkedIn? What do you prefer?
Yeah, earthkind.com. They can find information on the company and the products. I'm active on LinkedIn, and that's Kari Warberg Block. So you can find me there.
Awesome. Well, it's been great having you. I love hearing about your journey. I hope I can talk with you in the future, and maybe in this third phase, the 30-year phase of your next journey, maybe you can share some stories with me in the future about those.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Thank you, Kari. Have a good one.
You too.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.
Electricast.